Good evening and a warm welcome to you in British Columbia, where the polls have just closed. I'm Peter Mansbridge. We've run out of time zones now. Canadians have finished voting everywhere, and we can tell our new viewers in BC that Brian Mulroney has done what he said he would, and that is win a second consecutive majority government for his Conservatives, a real rarity in Canadian politics. That majority is based on results that have already come in from 9 other provinces and the Northwest Territories. Let's look at the latest numbers. For the Conservatives, they have elected 158 members. They're leading in 5 other seats for a total of 155, and as you can see, the numbers change as we talk. The Liberals are at 85. The NDP is at 24. As we moved west tonight, we saw very early that the Tories were losing some votes, but not enough to lose that majority. Let's look at where the votes have gone so far. This will give you an indication. The Tories up at 43%.
On the CBC's coverage of Election 93. I'm Peter Mansbridge. This has been a night unlike any other in Canadian political history. The Liberals, who've held power almost 64 years this century, are going to hold it again. You could count Tory seats on your fingers, and the Bloc Québécois could yet become the official opposition. So too, though, could Reform. Here are the latest standings as we look at them now, with all the provinces reporting so far, except British Columbia, where the polls have just closed. Also the polls just closing in Yukon and parts of the Northwest Territories. This is what the country's map looks like. Red, the color of the Liberal Party. Look at those swashes of red. Up north, through the west, all through Ontario, mostly through Atlantic Canada. Overall numbers, look at that. Liberals leading or elected tonight, and most of them are elected now, in 170 seats. The Bloc Québécois leading or elected in 51. That includes their leader, Lucien Bouchard, as Jean Chrétien won his seat for the Liberals in Quebec. Reform, though, has just been making a move in the last half hour. Did not do well in central Canada, not at all. Didn't pick up very many votes or seats in Ontario, but started, once they crossed into the west, doing extremely well in Alberta. British Columbia will decide tonight who is going to be in the Stornoway, the official opposition. All right, we now have seen enough. We are convinced that the numbers that we've looked at across the country, and even in those slim leads, will hold up for the Liberals. Jean Chrétien, he can turn that half smile into a full smile now. He becomes only the second Liberal leader in the past half century to form 2 back-to-back majority governments. Remember, Pierre Trudeau never even did that. It was Louis Saint Laurent, the last Liberal leader, who had 2 back-to-back majority governments in a row. So Jean Chrétien does it tonight. The gamble pays off. It was tight right down to the wire, and still he's in a close race in his own riding.
Yes, and he will be looking at his own riding. He's ahead by a couple of hundred votes last time we looked, but it never should have been that close in St. Maurice. And the Liberals will tell themselves that they never should have lost their health minister in Nova Scotia, David Dingwall, their defense minister, Doug Young, in New Brunswick. And the Liberals will say that a lot of things happened tonight that shouldn't have happened. What the Liberals will say is that they're very grateful that Ontario did for the Liberal Party what it did tonight, pretty similar to what it did in 1993. Tonight, so far, the Liberals are leading and elected in 99 of Ontario's 103 ridings, and that, for the Liberal Party, is the story of the election. The majority may very well have come from the province of Quebec, where the Liberals did better in some French ridings than they ever expected to, for the simple reason that the Liberals haven't done well in French Quebec in 17 years. But with the Conservatives getting more votes than expected in Quebec, there were some vote splits, and it enabled the Liberals to win some ridings that they otherwise couldn't have won.
All right. Well, and hasn't looked back since. Well, okay, we now have seen enough. The Liberals will form a majority government. The final number is still yet to be determined, but we are convinced by what we have seen that the Liberals will form their 3rd majority government in a row under the leadership of Jean Chrétien, which means the big gamble to go early, go for that majority, was a winner. And here's the crowd in Shawinigan, Quebec, the home riding for Jean Chrétien, who are cheering away that decision on the part of the CBC and Radio Canada, that we have seen enough. And Jason, you know, it was a big gamble. A lot of people doubted whether or not he should be doing it. A lot of Liberals doubted it. But Jean Chrétien is going to win the third majority in a row.
And he's going to be the first Prime Minister to do so in 50 years. The last one, as you pointed out earlier, Peter, Mackenzie King. Yes, it was certainly a gamble.
Of your screen. And we've seen enough. We've calculated the votes, and at this hour, 10:23 in the nation's capital, we are prepared to, at this point, declare a minority government is going to be held tonight by the Liberal Party of Canada. Paul Martin and his team will stay in power based on the projections that we have seen so far. The Liberals will form a minority government, final number yet to be determined as the results are still being counted. But we have seen enough already for us to declare that the Liberals will hold a minority government at the end of this evening. Keith.
Oh, I'm surprised it's happening.
Quebec. Well, we can tell you we have seen enough. We've been checking the numbers, checking the figures, and are making our determination now. We are saying it is going to be a Conservative minority government. You're looking at the 22nd Prime Minister of Canada when he is sworn in, probably a week, 10 days away from now. Stephen Harper, 46 years old, turns 47 in April. And there's the reaction in Calgary at the headquarters for the Conservative Party as we suggest that, in fact, what's going to happen tonight is the Conservatives are going to form the next government. It's going to be a minority, not a majority. There's been a big push in the last 10 days for a majority government, but occupying this building, that's the nation's capital, of course, where it's just 9 minutes after 10 on this night. The next party to occupy the government side of the benches in this grand old building, the Parliament Buildings of Canada, will be the Conservative Party. We have an announcement for you. We've seen enough now. We've looked at all the possibilities in terms of all those ridings that were close. It's going to be a Conservative minority government. Stephen Harper made the big gamble. He broke his own election law, in a matter of speaking, to have the election this fall, and with the hopes, one assumes, of forming a majority government to end the deadlock in the House that he said existed. He called it dysfunctional in August, but it hasn't worked. He comes back with a minority government. It is a stronger minority government, of that there is no doubt, but is there such a thing as a strong minority government? All right, we have seen enough now. We've gone and analyzed all the different leads. We can tell you that we are back to majority government status in Canada. It's been 7 years since there was a majority government in Canada. That was the tail end of the Chrétien-Martin years. In 2004, Canada went into a minority situation, first with Paul Martin and then with the two Conservative minority governments of Stephen Harper. Tonight, Stephen Harper becomes a majority government leader, the Prime Minister of a majority party, the Conservatives, and we'll see, which I can tell you for one thing, means that the next election absolutely won't be until at the earliest October 19th, 2015, because there's an election law in this country that says you have to go for 4 years. So
the Manitoba border. So they're very near to a majority just in eastern Canada.
In fact, Andrew, hold on for a minute, because we now, based on not only what you've said, but our calculations and the decisions of the decision desk, we are now prepared to make the following call. Based on the information that we've seen, the analysis of the numbers coming in from all these different ridings, what's looked clear for some time now, the Liberal government of, I almost said Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau will be a majority government tonight. The Liberals attaining the majority status. They're well above the crowd reacting in Montreal at Liberal Party headquarters, as we've seen enough now to be convinced of this outcome. Right now they're sitting in triple digits, 183 leading or elected. They needed 170 for a majority government. A lot of these still to be determined, but we're convinced they will finish well beyond the 170 mark.
Now, our CBC News decision desk is ready to make yet another call. Canada, your next government will be a Liberal minority government. We're projecting that at this hour. Justin Trudeau will, as we say there, get a second mandate as Prime Minister, but his majority from 2015 no longer. And given the way this campaign has unfolded, Justin Trudeau may indeed need the support of other parties in order to find a way to govern the country. We'll have to see where these margins go and where they end in order to get that sense about where that cooperation would come from and how he's going to